Test, test, 1, 2. Bro. That's an L going bruh. Because an L has a shit queue of 100 MacBooks. That is right. That's right. For anybody watching, first things first, let's make sure the audio works. Is this working? Can you hear me? Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Audio's going to be out of sync because I'm using Linux. Not much way around that, but let's... Yeah, he's got... You want to see an L's queue? Hello, does this work? ITC Extreme, does this work? Tim Thompson, does this work? Andre Larson, does this work? Connor Gret, does this work? Okay, fuck it. If it doesn't work, it's on you. You could answer. Anyway, let's see. What's your queue?
Put it in the microscope. What's above the PMIC?
Okay, so what are we looking for here? So let's just take a look at... Let's see an L's queue. Above the PMIC looks like a bunch of unclean flux. And what the fuck? Yo, send this shit to New York. Who took this in? Dan took this in? Yo, okay, Dan's in New York right now. You ship this machine in New York and tell the customer to call Dan's personal phone number. Who the fuck would take that in, man? Get the fuck out of my store. All right. 1 of 30, yes. Okay, let's lower the queue. Hey, everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. This is not going to be the best of repair videos. We have myself, and we usually have about 6 to 12 people in the store. Today, we have myself and Anel for the next week and a half. We are closing out the old store, Rossmann Repair Group, Inc., at 141 West 27th Street, so everybody's over there finishing up the queue. Meanwhile, we did move everything to this store around December 12th, December 15th in Austin, Texas, and while we are here at Rossmann Repair Group 2, Inc., no relation to Rossmann Repair Group 1, we have... myself and Anel. So pretty much, here's what we got here. We have me, and we have him. And we have that's it. So essentially for over 100 tickets, soon to be 200 at this rate, until everybody else finishes up the tickets there and flies here, we got 2 people. So yeah, and anyway, it's exciting, So I got a MacBook over here I thought I'd share with you. It's kind of a boring MacBook, but I honestly haven't looked at a MacBook with you guys for a really long time, so I thought it'd be fun. Even if it's not the most interesting MacBook, not the most interesting board repair, figured we'd just take a look, see what's going on with it, and go from there. So I don't have all my stuff hooked up here pretty much nicely for videos yet. We still got this, unfortunately, crappy camera over here. Sorry about that. It is not the best. So we have 5 volts and 0 amps. This is an A2159 board. Now, typically when you have 0 amps drawn on PP bus, as in 0.00000 amps on PP bus, it tends to mean, amps being taken, it tends to mean that there's a PP bus G3 hot short. And we're going to take a quick measurement of this to see if that is the case. So I'm just going to turn on my multimeter and see if the Paul Daniels software is working. And my God, the Paul Daniels software is working. I am a lucky man today, am I not? So we're just going to take a look over here and see if that's true. Now, if I want to see where things are on this board, I can use Paul Daniels' amazing software over here. Paul Daniels' software does not come with an icon. So what I've done, so that you could see the icon, is I actually have it set up over here on my system with a special icon. Now, I know that Paul Daniels is no longer acknowledging Micro the Cat on his channel, but that doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge Micro the Cat in our system. So as you can see over here, this icon over here in XFCE will launch this beautiful board view software that you see on screen over here, and you can see where PP Bus G3 Hot is. So I can just hit Control F, I can type in PP Bus, I can type in PP Bus G3 Hot, I can hit search over here, and it'll show me everywhere that it shows up in the board, like someplace like over here. And then we can just take a look and see if it's short at the ground. And what do you know? Okay, 96 ohms is not as low as I would expect, but it is indeed a short. That is not good. We should have more. So what we are going to do right now is solder my wires to the board, and oh wow, it looks like I did that before I got started with the video. It's almost like I already knew what was wrong with this before I started. Imagine that. Hey, give me a break. I got over 100 items in my queue. Can't be a video producer at the same time. So we are going to turn on the power supply here and see what gets warm on the board. Let's see if anything gets warm on the board. Yes, this is not my best content, I know, but I figured I should give you something related to board repair. It's been a long time. Now, usually what we do when something is shorted to try and figure out what is shorted is we will solder a wire to the board onto the rail that's shorted, and we will inject voltage. Now, something that's important to understand, this is a really, really important point to understand here because a lot of you are going to make a mistake, and there are certain people on the internet that have made this mistake and not been honest with their viewership when they've blown something up on stream. I'm not going to name any names here because I'm trying to be less of an asshole. It's one of my New Year's resolutions. When you have a short on a power rail, right? Let's say you have a short in a 12-volt rail. That doesn't mean that you can inject up to 12 volts into that rail. There's this common assumption that I have let's say a 5-volt or a 12-volt power rail. Everything on that line is expecting to see 5 or 12 volts. Therefore, if I inject 5 volts into that rail, that means that I can inject 5 volts in to find my short. No. What you do is you start with the lowest voltage rail in the system, not with even if you are checking for a short on a 5 or a 12-volt rail, that does not mean that you are going to start off with 5 or 12 volts. Here's why. Your 5-volt rail may have chips on it that are used for converting 5 volts into 1 volt, right? For something like, let's say, the CPU. So let's say you have a chip on your 5-volt rail that is shorted in some way, shape, or form, and it is now just, instead of sending out 1 volt, it is just sending out straight up 5 volts. Let's say your CPU is in front of that. If that's the chip that's bad, that means that when I inject 5 volts into the 5-volt rail, for all I know, I could be injecting 5 volts straight into the CPU. I could be injecting 5 volts into the SSD, which made me expecting 0.6 volts, 1 volt, 2.7 volts, and then I've destroyed it. I have seen videos on YouTube, and again, I'm not going to name names here, where people have tried to find the short. They figured that's a 5-volt rail. I can inject up to 5 volts into it. They inject up to 5 volts into it, and they wind up literally destroying the CPU on the device. So I could show you one example of how that may occur on a device like this. Let's say that I have PP-Bus G3HA, which is 8 or 12 volts. I should be able to inject a lot of stuff in there, right? Well, let's just say we have something like this chip right over here. Let's say you got something like this, right? So let's say that something like this is shorted over here. Now, again, let's say that this chip is going to be taking in my PP-Bus G3 hot over here and then turning that into 3.3 volts. Now, let's say there's something wrong with this, right? So this is always staying on. So if there's 12 volts coming into here and it's taking that 12 volts and turning it into 3, let's say that this is stuck. Let's say that this is turned on all the time, right? When it shouldn't be. It should be switching. If I inject 12 volts into this to try to find the short, I could be potentially sending 12 volts to everything on this line that's expecting 3, and everything on that line that's expecting 3 now got 12, and pow. So just because my short is on a 12-volt line does not mean that I'm going to start my power supply at 5 volts or 8 volts or 12 volts. And one of the ways, if you really are open and taken a time that you could try and figure out if this is the case, is you can take the power rail that is shorted, like PP-Bus G3 hot, and then measure the resistance between PP-Bus G3 hot and every other coil. So something that I would do over here, for instance, let's say I was afraid that the 12 volts was going straight to my CPU, is I could take a look on the screen over here. I could take a look through, and I could see that there is a CPU V-core coil over here, right? I could see that there's a CPU V-core coil, and I could see that this is going straight to the CPU. So one thing I may do before I inject any voltage into this is I may take my multimeter, and I may put one probe on PP-Bus G3 hot, which is my shorted power rail, and then another probe up here, and measure right by CPU V-core. And the reason that I'm going to make this measurement is if PP-Bus G3 hot had some, let me turn the power supply multimeter on the screen there. Let's say PP-Bus G3 hot had a 1 ohm short to the CPU. That would mean that my MOSFET was stuck and that 12 volts into PP-Bus was going straight to the CPU. Now, the CPU, again, on many of these machines is expecting anywhere from 0.8 to 1.3 volts, somewhere in that range. So even though PP-Bus G3 hot is a 12-volt power rail, I could inject 2 volts into PP-Bus G3 hot to try to find my short, and technically, if PP-Bus G3 hot was shorted to any one of those main coils, I could literally be sending 2 volts straight to my CPU. And you may think, well, I just put 2 volts into a 12-volt power rail. How does that mean that I've caused any damage? Because your 12-volt power rail was shorted to one of your lower voltage power rails as a result of a blown buck converter, and now you just send 2 or 3 or 4 volts straight to your CPU, your RAM, or your SSD, and now your client's data is destroyed. I screw things up on this channel if you look through my old board repairs, God knows I've done shit that's I probably shouldn't have. And the important thing in this industry is that when that happens, say it. Don't let other people watch and then figure that this is a good thing to do, this is a normal thing to do, this is an example to follow. There are videos I've done here where the board in front of me literally went on fire. And in those cases, it's a little bit more obvious. But there are going to be other cases that are less obvious. And yes, you may lose a little bit of reputation in the short term if you don't say it out loud. Wait, no, that's the wrong way to say it. You know, you may lose a little bit of reputation in the short term if you say it out loud, but I think it's better than tens of thousands of people watching and then realizing, oh shit, I didn't know that that causes damage, and then you have a bunch of people that are blowing up people's CPUs or SSDs because they made the same mistake you did. So rant over there. So we are going to inject 1 volt into this and see what happens. Let's see if we can see what gets warm. See if anybody sees on screen. All right. Now, if you take a look over here, you can see there is one capacitor that looks beautiful, and there on the left, and there's another capacitor on the right that looks like garbage. And for the capacitor on the right that looks like garbage, this looks like it's on PP-Bus G3 Hot. PP-Bus G3 Hot speaker amp. Here we go. So this is something that's on my power rail that's shorted. Great. And what do you know? It's just one bad cap. Huh. It's almost like the boss gets to cherry pick his own cue. Wah, wah, wah. And now, what are you working on over there?
A board that's already been opened.
What's wrong with that?
It has a 60 ohm PP bus short, so
Is-
I'm being hopeful.
Yeah, maybe it's just a bad cap.
Yeah, I wish I was as lucky as you.
Maybe it's just a bad cap.
The past 2 PP bus shorts I had were CPU MOSFETs.
Yeah, I never get CPU MOSFET. Mine are always shorted CPU.
Either. Is not when I go to Texas.
Well, listen, you used to not get them, but now you get them when you come here. So you know what that means. You should move to Texas. The boards are all, listen, everything's bigger in Texas, and the boards are all easier in Texas. All right, so we're going to take this off of the board. We're going to replace it with another one. Let's see if this MacBook works again. All right. Whew. Why are caps not 100% reliable? Because they are an electronic component. Like all electronic components, they break. Down, 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 down. It's treating me pretty well, Tarman. I could use, 5 or 6 more employees. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? They gotta finish up all the work at the old store. Once everything's finished up at the old store, I'll have everybody back here. For the time being, I think some people may not be exactly very happy, but we are doing our best. I will be working through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, most likely. Get as many of these out as I can. It's definitely going to be a fun week. It's definitely going to be a fun week. All right, so we're going to grab a donor board. We're going to grab another cap. It's going to be amazing. It's going to just work like a charm. We're just going to grab a donor board for an A2159. We're going to grab the donor that cap has not been stolen from already. Ooh, okay, whoa, wasn't stolen already. Okay, that's pretty lucky. Catherine, I hope you're doing very well too. Happy holidays to you, your friends, your cat, above all your cat. Okay, we're going to grab a replacement here. Going to New York City for 3 days after Christmas. What's one restaurant to go to? Lucha Lucha, the best burrito place in Brooklyn. Oh, wait, they're closed. Mazzetto, one of the best Mediterranean places on... Oh, wait, they're closed. I don't know, man. All the places I like are closed. The one place that may not be closed is Naya. Naya, I know it seems like fast food, and it kind of is fast food, but it's so freaking good. It's on 30th Street and 7th Avenue. It's amazing. Like that place is just God's gift to food. You want to go to Naya, 30th Street and 7th Avenue. I would eat there 5 times a day if I were still in New York. Go there before they get destroyed by a random New York State audit. All right, got a nice little cap over there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then after this, we're going to wait for the board to cool off a little bit, and we're going to see if the thing turns on. And if it turns on, then we will clean the board off, put it back together, and call our happy customer and let them know they are the 1 in 100 customers here that was lucky enough to actually get a repair. And also, yes, I am quite behind at the moment. I am quite behind. 100 tickets, 2 people. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, let's see. Give it a moment to cool off there. And grab here we go. Grab our little charger here. And see what it says. And oh, look at this. Look at this. 20.4 volts, 400 milliamps. So this is most likely booting into an operating system. Lovely, lovely. You could hear Anel sighing in the background because I got an easy board and he didn't. Anel, it's important that you learn this lesson while you're still young. Life is unfair.
My SSD's dead.
Your SSD's dead? No way. This is the second one in a row. How? What? I don't get it.
There's a burn mark on it,
Where?
on the SSD buck.
Oh, is that the one that's on top of the chip you just...
Yeah.
Oh, you got... This?
Yeah.
I don't see the hole.
There's a little, like, pop mark on it. If you turn the brightness up, maybe.
Oh, this is all the way up. This thing has some stupid auto exposure, auto ISO that I can't figure out how to turn off in the camera. Let's see. I don't see it.
Should be on the bottom left. It's a different color than chip itself. Anyway.
It's probably fine. Why do you assume it's dead?
Because my SSD, with that removed, it went from 0 ohms to 16 ohms.
Oh. The bottom of it doesn't look too nice. No luck for you, my friend.
The usual.
The Paul special. You sat next to Paul for too long. Now every MacBook you get sucks just like his. All right. Okay, I'm just going to plug in nothing but the screen and the charge port just so that you guys can see an Apple logo on the screen. This is going to have to get cleaned. It's going to have to get tested. We're going to have to make sure that there was no damage to anything else inside here before we give this customer the happy holiday news that they are not completely screwed. This person was unfortunately unlucky enough to go to the Apple store before coming here, and as usual, standard BS, no data, no chance at data, double to triple what we would charge them for whatever, several weeks. And here, you have a nice Apple logo, and the computer is booting. So that's about that. That is what we call the random queue here at Rossmann Repair. One shorted cap, dead SSD. It's good to be the boss. Anyway, I am probably not going to have time to do videos much over the next week and a half. Yes, again, this is usually a 6 to 12 person business. At this point in time, it is a 1 to 2 person business over the transitionary period of moving things from the old store to the new store. We have to finish up all the jobs at the old store. There's about 5 pages of tickets there, and there's about 1 week left to do them, while simultaneously taking in everything at this one. So it's going to be a little back and forth, and I'm going to be doing my best to get things out before everybody in that shelf starts to call in and kill me, which is going to mean a lot of work, very little time for YouTube videos, posting, stuff like that. But I just did want to say hi, let people know we are here in Texas. Things are going well. Things are looking up. I'm excited for the next year. And that is about that. Just wanted to share a board repair with you, even if it was a boring one. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Random indeed, Andre.